You got to get exactly. In order to first you created a system configure file. You have to read write this file exactly. How you will read? First the Java provide on a property class, so you have to create on a property class. Then you make use of that reference. So I did same private property reference error. You created an object of this property class. Again, in order to read the
Okay.
file, this system file again Java provides a in file input stream one more class. So file input stream, I created the same thing. Input same new object exactly. So in object what I'm passing this path file of the path name. Where should I read? Then I'm passing this properties variable to this as a input exactly. You read this file. This is a property file. You read this input file. You got right? Prop dot load input means this is an input file. You load this file exactly. So in order to read, first we have to load that file, right?
Okay.
Yeah, now we have loaded this file is there. So how this system config file, how will it treat is right? As I told, this is a key and value. This is it will treat as a key, and this is it will treat as a value. Now we created a property file object, so we can make use of a property file reference variable. So I will tell you return dot return, sorry, return. I'll make here this only, sorry. So return, this is a property you are reading property file, right? Reference variable, you have to take that one. Prop dot get property. There is a one method. I told right, it will read based on the key and pair value. Get property, what it will do, right? It will read the value based on the key. My key is now this is browser URL username. These are all a key. It will read the value based on the key. My key is a browser. It will what it will fetch. It will give basically value. This value it will give Chrome. If it is
Okay.
URL, this value will give. So same thing. I did get. I will do get property. If you see here, it's expecting a input as a key. Can you see here? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, input as a key. So my key input is like you can give that input as a my input is a URL, and this is a case sensitive. So you, please provide a proper key name exactly. That it will store key as a unique in this property. So you provide a proper key name, whichever it is there, exact key name you provide. This is a case sensitive, and it is a unique. Now
Okay.
I will read for all exactly based on, now I will read for browser also, now I will read for username, now I will read for password also.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. Now got it.
yes, you got right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Now we are, you know, this test environment variable. Now here we have read from the property file exactly. So here whichever now initial edge is there, now assume that again you wanted to pass opera, everything whatever you want you can pass, right? URL for in, if you see initially you won't get to this URL name exact, they will give some IP address, so it will keep changing on different IP address unless they will find finalize what the URL so hitting. So that in that case, if you keep URL changing, we are not hard coding, right? We are reading from somewhere exactly. So whatever URL you want, the URL got changed, you can change here exactly. You can comment and assume that here also I took two URL. So if I don't want to execute this URL, I wanted to execute this URL, you can uncomment this one. Whichever you don't want, you comment that one. So now if you see here, this is a generic. I can modify anything. It will read based on the key, whatever value provided is there, right? So username password, assume that it got changed also. So you can modify here instead of assume that if in other test cases we directly hard coded. Now we didn't hard coded here. We are reading from system config file. So now if you see here, now we are read the property file. This structure now I'm telling, right, we wanted to read a different browser. If you see your test requirement, assume that you wanted to execute different browser. I wanted to execute in Firefox, I wanted to execute in Opera. Now we'll create on page setup class. If you see where I created somewhere here, I created on page setup class exactly. Again you go here, create a package. You can make is a sorry, you can call it as a base setup also, you can call page setup also, you can call. Basically you're setting up the page. So now where you wanted to launch the browser, whether you wanted to launch Firefox, Chrome, dependent. So now I'm creating one created a package, then same page setup class I created. So now what I will do right here, page setup class. First I will, this is a web driver. I'm creating one driver instead, web driver. Then I'm returning one method, then returning this driver, because this driver wanted to use this driver instance. I wanted to use the other class. So that's the reason I'm creating. So Now again I will read the property. This class should know, right, which browser should I have to launch, whether I want to launch what to call Firefox, Chrome, whichever browser. So I have to read again property file right here. If you see browser read dot get browser, if how you have to read right here, just if you see here again you create a reference variable, same property, this read property. So yeah, now we have created a class read property here. We are here we read the whatever the available based on key and value. Now you wanted to read this method exactly, get browser. You wanted to get this value. How we can get this value? It will return this browser, means whatever browser mentioned. So how we can read this value? So I am creating, in order to read the method, I'm creating on object. How can I create object? Class name. So this is class name. So if you see, this is a class name. Read property is a class name, then reference variable new. This is object. I'm creating a object of the particular class. This is a syntax basically. Class name, reference variable, new is a method to create object of that particular class, then give this name. You got right here? Any doubt here?
No.
Yeah, now you got right. So you make use of this reference variable read dot, if you see here, get whatever the available method is available in that particular class, you can make use of. See, can you see get browser is there, get password is there, get URL, get username. If you see here, mine all 4 methods only available as of now. Can you see here? URL is there, browser is there, username is, password is there. So I'm reading, I wanted to read a browser. Now I required only browser, right? Read dot get browser. I wanted to browser only read. Now if you see, remember, now we can make use of a TestNG annotation. Why I using right before method right here? So I wanted to this execute every before every test case method. So that's the reason I'm using before method. So I will create one before method class, public before method. If browser, if this is a browser, what it will browser equal ignores Chrome. You guys able to understand this statement, or can I explain again? Memun, Yogita?
You can explain one second.
Okay, yeah. So my what I'm telling right here, before every method you execute this method browser equal ignore case Chrome. So if it browser is a Chrome, I'm telling launch the Chrome browser. If here, if I pass a browser here Chrome, then launch the Chrome browser. If I pass the browser in Firefox, I'm telling launch the Firefox browser. If browser is Edge, launch the Edge driver. I will tell you exactly what I'm giving equal ignore case, right? It means if, for example, some people you write what to call, like here people write the way they, whichever they want, they can write. Like some people will write like Chrome, some, so it will ignore the case exactly whatever it is there. If it is Chrome, it will take, it will ignore the case whether it is small or capital, it doesn't matter. So if you're passing the Chrome, I will launch the Chrome browser, it means. So where is that page setup? Read browser equals ignore case. So system dot set property, then I'm launching WebDriver. This is a syntax key again, this is also key and pair value. So this is WebDriver dot
Like
launch the,
it is not case sensitive, yeah.
which one?
Dot equals that equals is a ignore case.
Yeah,
Then
ignore
Chrome is
case.
a yeah, we
The,
can write in any form,
yes, any
capital
form.
or
Yeah, any form you can write. Ignore case a method. So it is Chrome. So if it is a browser Chrome, I'm telling launch the Chrome browser. You might be knowing how to launch a Chrome driver. Now, if you in first class, if you attended, I told you, I explained you how to launch Chrome driver, then how to launch Firefox driver, how to launch Edge driver. If you have so many requirement, again you write Opera. If browser equals ignore Opera, then system.webdriver equal to same thing. Instead of WebDriver, new Edge driver, how it will go? New Opera driver, it will come. Like this, it will come exactly. Sorry, this is not. You got right? This what I written here.
yes, got it.
Yep. Yeah. So whichever it is, ignore this is a, if it is normal only. This is where in order to launch, how to launch, we are writing here. Now after at the end, what I'm doing, after at each test close, I'm closing the driver. If driver is not equal instance null, then close the driver. This just it is try and catch. This when you're explaining exception, I will tell you exactly how to do this try and catch exactly. If driver is not equal to null, driver dot close exactly. That instance is not null, I'm closing. So here what I'm doing, right? Every test case, before launching every test case, based on the system config file, launch that particular browser. Then after launching, once test case finished, then close that browser. It means, if this annotation I'm using, if you understood TestNG annotation before method and after test what it will do, same thing in TestNG class we explain exactly what this annotation means, what this before method. You can give this name anything, means it is a meaningful name you should give. Any doubt here till now?
No.
Mamun, even if a simple doubt also you can ask, because see same whatever this architecture, right? Based on that one only I'm doing here.
Yeah, it's okay for me, but I guess if I do by myself, then I will understand it properly.
Yeah, you are able to understand this page object model, right? What it is page
Yeah,
object.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Same way I'm writing here, whatever I'm shown here, right? Same way I'm writing here. Sorry, Yogita.
No.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Now we have written here browser. So this is done. Mine page setup is done. System config file is done. So now I have to start what you have to write. I have to write my page object element, right? Now system setup is done for me, where I wanted to run, what is the username, what is the URL password. This is done. Now I have to write my what to call web element identification. I have to write. So what I have to do, right? First I have to create, if you see, one I have to create an object class exactly. One I have to write an object class. So now I will create an object class here. Now go here, create on package here. If you go here, object class create only one package exactly. So instead of here I have written so many com dot object. So you create com dot, you can instead of home page you make one generic package com dot objects, you write page objects, you write like this. Inside you can like new, I will create on the com dot page objects. Package name already is there. So some, yeah, sorry, here it is already I created. Okay. So com dot page object it is there. Now I will create com dot page objects, means for each page, if you remember, each page, this is a home page. If I click login page, this is a login. For each page, whatever the web element is present in that particular page, I will write in that particular page. So now I assume that this is a home page or login page. Now I will create one page. Sorry. Now I will create a one login page. So new, you create a one class login page objects. Like this, you can create a login page object. Now created a one login page objects. So it is you make sure that this naming convention, whatever you define, you should write like this. Now create a one login page object. So now we have to identify all the web element present in that particular web page, right? So now I will go on example. See system config file, I identify this URL, what I'm doing, right? So now this is my URL. I wanted to identify this web element or whatever the username, password, login, reset, whichever the element is there. This is a login page in there. So I will write down all the web element present in this one. So how I have to write? There is a how I can write login page. You created on login page here. How you can write here? Here also written. So login page object I have written. So how we have to write? I will show you. So there is a one annotation called a find by annotation exactly. Find by, this is a annotation provided by Selenium, not a TestNG. This is identifying the web element. How we have to write, right? Just you have to at find. If you do, can you see here find by? So you write this find by. The syntax is like name, if you wanted to identify by name, this is a locator name, then you provide a locator, then you have to assign this uh, element web element to the some name, exactly public web element. You have to assign this web element, then you give name. So if it is a username, so I will give username field. So it should make some meaningful sense, right? That particular, if you identify this one, something name should be given this one, right? Username. How will if you assume that there are 100 web element page you identified, you are not giving any name to that particular web element, it's difficult to identify. So I'm assuming that you can give it as a username input box or username field like that. I'm giving one name, username field. So here assume that this is I identified the web element, this is a username field. Any doubt here? If you remember locators, this is a different way of writing. Instead of we used to write driver dot find element by using id. This is somewhere it is there. 1 minute, sorry. I will show you somewhere if I'm writing. You remember, right? Initially we written driver dot find element by id. You guys? Yeah, this is similar way. Instead of writing, if you see, this is same way, driver dot find element. Can you guys see this one? Find element. In a locator class, I showed how to identify this one. Is find element by dot id or xpath dot id. You can give. This is same way writing this one exactly. So some id, whichever locator you identify. Any doubt? This is a similar way. In order to write this page or achieve this page object pattern, here they will use this find by annotation provided by Selenium. Actually, that's it. That's it. You have doubt any here? How to write this one? Find by element. So first it identify by name, all or name only. Here I took one web element is with XPath. Any doubt? Now what I did, right? So I have written all the web element. This is I took username. This is password. This is login button. This is reset button. So same here I written. This is username field. This is password field. This is login button. This is reset button. And after login, something will come home page. I written that one. Any doubt? I have identified each web element. If you go inspect, see, can you see by using I identified this name UD ID. Go here, password, inspect again by identified by password actually. Can you say identify inspected all the web element? Any doubt, Meman or Yogita here? How do you have to write?
I don't have any.
Yeah, now we have identified the web element. Now we wanted to perform on this actions on this particular web element. If you remember, now you identify I wanted to input this box. If you wanted to input box, what you have to do, right? Send, you have to send keys, you have to perform it. Selenium method you have to make use of. Send keys here. After entering that, you have to click. If you see here, this one, we have written the web element. Now what will create one functional class will call these web element and perform that action in that particular web element. Now same thing I will do. Now page functional I created here, com.page functional. Say this name should be same. If you're given here login page object, same you can give as a login page functional, so that name should be uniform across the framework, so that it is easy to understand. If you see this by people directly will understand. So this is a login page object. So whatever the functions performing on but available in this page object repository, that will be available in this login page functional. So login page functional, what I'm doing here, right? So I'm creating login page function extends login page objects. What it will do, right? This is a inheritance we are doing. So whenever you wanted to inherit it from parent class to child class, they assume that this is a child class. This is a syntax. How you have to write this is a syntax like this. Just a minute. Sorry. So now how you have to write? You have to inherit. You want those web element to access, right? You have to inherit. So this is syntax is like extends. If you type here, extends you have to give which method, which class. This is a child class, this is a parent class. So now assume that this is a parent class. Sorry, I will delete this one. We have created one more, right? This one I will delete, not required now for learning purpose only I show. So login page object, so you have to extend. Now assume that what I wanted to do, I wanted to enter input to that box. Now I will create a one class here, public void enter a value in email field like this. You make it that this enter value in email field. So it's making sense, right? I'm creating one method, so it will enter the value in email field. Create one method here. So now we created one method. So you have to make use of that web element. Which web element it is there? If you see here, I've created a user field. If you type here, can you see here? You'll get that which web element you wanted to perform action on. Username dot field dot. How we will enter using method send keys, right? If you send keys, then whichever you value pass, you can pass here. For example, my username is a test username. Test username. Any doubt here? Same thing I will do with all the web element. Whatever the actions I wanted to perform that one web element, I will create each method for each web element. So here I created same exactly. If you say enter a value in username field, so I made generic here exactly this username and password I wanted to from this system config file. So I given a parameter username password. I will show you where I'm reading from this username password. So click on a login button. Can you see I wanted to click on login button. So which method you have to use? Click method. So you wanted to get text, which method? If the initial class, these things are I explain exactly. I'm performing actions on that particular web element. That's it here. Nothing I'm doing. Any doubt here? Yogita Meman?
No.
Yeah, now I will
No.
tell you. So what does this mean exactly? So if you remember, I told you page factory. This page object model is a processor process exactly, that is a design pattern. In order to achieve that page object model, there is a page factory is a method actually. So you have to initialize that web element in present in here, this object class, right? Page object class. So we have to initialize the that web elements exactly in order to achieve the page object model. So that's the reason. Same thing. You create a I'm creating one constructor here. So this same public login page functional, you pass this web driver instance. This web driver required at everywhere instance. We are passing this web driver. This is a local variable, assigning this variable. Page factory initialize this web element with this all whatever the objects element is there, that it will initialize the web element exactly. That is the page factory. Any doubt here, you guys? You have to initialize that web element. So you have created your web object, right? You have created, you have to initialize these web element, right? So to the driver instance, same thing we do using by page factory. Any doubt here? Initializing web elements. So what it means, right? In order to, if you see driver dot find element, you have to write this is same as a driver. It means driver dot web element. That is it means in general word. Now here initialize this web element. Any doubt here, Memun? Please, if you have any doubt also, you can please ask me exactly. So this is for each page class, you have to create like this only. Assume that here one more, this is a login. Now one more class is there. So same thing, just this class name you create, just to initialize this driver. That's it. You have to create this web driver instance, then initialize web element for each page, whatever available there. You create how many pages you want. Now there is no, that is how, that is the advantage of the main concept page object model. I think whatever each things they will consider as a page. See, this is after login, one more page will come, that will they consider one page. If you click somewhere, it will come as a one more page they will treat. That is a concept of page object. Whatever it is there, each things they will create, treat as a one page. Any doubt here? Page functional, what you do? So you are performing actions on each web element exactly when created on method and perform the action on each web element. Any doubt? So now if you see our structure, so we are created object class, we are performed actions on that particular what you call page object. Now we wanted to bring in test cases, right? How we can bring in a structure? You have to bring structural way, right? Now created. Now I wanted all the test cases present in the login to execute in a login page test class. Now I will create a one class called test class. First, if you see here, com.test case, you create one package here, com.source. Yeah, if you source here, if you now I created page object page setup. Now I'll create a one test class. So go here, com.test case. You create one generic package com.test case. What it means whatever the test case available in that entire project will be here. Then after that, create each class for each page. How you created one class for a page object, one class for a function. The same way you can create one as a test class. Go to again create one class test case. You create login page test case. Now our test annotation will come. Now I am reading here username and password exactly same thing. Get username. If I show here how you can read, right? I'm reading username and password from read property file here. My username and this is and password here. So this I'm making a generic here. So login pages. So this read. Now I will write first. I will write a verify user able to login. So here I give a valid username and password. Assume that my username. So here what I did, right? I created a username. How you create, right? First you go to click here. Sorry, you enter a email ID, it will generate one. I will give test it. If you enter one username, it will generate one username and password like this. So I've created like this. I given my email ID, so I created username and password. It will generate like this. After entering this username, it will log in. Same thing I did. 1 minute. I will log in with this username and password. Where is their system config file? So I created. This is my username. This is my username. And this is my password. Password. So yeah, after login, I'm verifying this whether user is logged in or not. Assertion how we'll do after login, something you have to check, right? Here I got this one only to verify. So I'm verifying this one only exactly. I return, if you see, I identify this web element also here. See, I'm identified, then I'm getting a text. If you go functional page, I'm getting a text available in this one. Can see homepage dot get text. I given this homepage ID, something like this there. I'm getting text exactly. I have to do assertion, right? I have to confirm whether user is login or not. So we'll write a test case here at test. If you TestNG at test public void test name, verify user able to log in or not. Now what you have to do, right? You have to create a object here exactly. Login page functional you can create a, how you will create a class name, reference variable, new login page functional. Now if you see, you have to pass this driver instance. Where you are passing driver instance, from where you are reading, from page setup class. So you have to extend here also login.test case extend page setups. So page setup, what it will do right for us here, it will tell us which browser you are executing and it will give the instance of a driver. So we are executing that particular test case in that particular browser. So if I pass browser, it will execute and it will give the driver instance. So now I got a driver instance by using here. Now I created a login. Now if you see, I created a object of this class. Now how to make use of a login page? If you see, I will show you exactly here. Login page. See function dot. You have to now call by structural way. How first you have to enter username, right? Enter. Can you say enter username? Just you see enter username. Make use of that method. Can you say enter username? Then enter password. You guys got right. Whatever the methods I created here. login page functional, I'm calling structural way one by one. Login I called here. So string. Now I clicked on, I entered username, entered password. After that, what I have to do? I have to click on login button. So one by one I called. Now I have to do assertion, right? My actual result, actual result you will get from application. Expected result, my expected result after login. This is my expected result. I want you expected result, you have to pass. Then I'm doing assert dot assert actual result, expected result. The test case is executed. Any doubt here? How I'm doing with respect to this one?
No, it's fine for me.
This one, that's the reason I told these everything is explained in the TestNG exactly. Just I'm calling this actions in a sequential order, how we have to execute here one by one. So you have to call username password. Now we will execute here. Verify user now. Let's say run as a TestNG, whether I will give C. Now my browser is a Chrome. My username is this one. My URL is this one. Password is this one. Now I'll execute that single test cases. See where it is there. Login page. Now we'll execute this only test case. Verify. Run as a TestNG. Can you see it's launched in a Chrome browser? I think it's executed. Everything it's executing. I think all three test cases executing. All three, I think it's executed. Single I checked as independent. So let's see. We'll wait. See, yeah, sorry, it's all three, it's executed. All three. I will wanted to explain one by one. Single only I wanted to run as a yeah. Can you say it's executed single test case only? Sometimes what will happen, it won't select run as if right click, run as a test engine means all everything it will select and it will execute. Now if you go here, right click, refresh. If you see this test output file, what it will created. If you remember TestNG class, how can we see here? Open with web browser. So can you see test cases passed, fail, whether test case is passed or failed? This is TestNG concept only, how we can see. Now, first time I executed what you call Chrome. Now I wanted to execute in Firefox, same test case. Assume that this is a test case. Now it's working fine in a Chrome. Same test case you wanted to execute in a Firefox. Now nothing, just you have to here you comment this one.
One question, like
Yep.
test report is inside the test output folder.
Yes, test output folder. If you remember TestNG class, whenever you run, if you do refresh this test output file, it will generate automatically. In TestNG class, I explained actually how to where to see this test after when you integrate TestNG. Three report will come exactly. One is the email report, one is the index report. So if you see here, see this is the index report. This is the older report exactly. This is a new one. If you see, not happening. Okay, this report one is a emailable report exactly. Once you integrate TestNG, once you run this test output file, it will generate automatically. If you haven't gone through, please go through this TestNG class memo exactly. That previous 2-3 class TestNG where I showed reporting initial first class only I showed exactly. Once test case is passed, how the report will store. Now assume that I wanted to do execute in Firefox. How I can do? Just simply I comment here. Just I open and comment here. I can give Firefox. So same statement it is there. If you go page setup, if you, it will read from here. Chrome, Firefox, correct yeah, statement. Now if you see, I will run. Now this test case should execute in Firefox. See now my framework is making simple life, right? Instead of see when you write independent test cases, you have to keep everywhere, right? Copy paste everything. Driver dot find element for each test cases. Just I will show you exactly what I mean. See, now it's launched in a Firefox. If you guys see, the browser is a Firefox. It's taking some time, but the browser is Firefox. Yeah, something happened actually. This find element didn't find actually. Something happened. Okay, null pointer exception. Why? Let's see. Something is not able to identify that element. We'll say. Now, if we say normal way, how we have to do, assume that there are some, when you don't return a framework, you return a test cases. Every time you wanted to execute in Chrome or Firefox browser, every time you have to do this copy paste every time. First time for when you wanted to execute Chrome, you have to launch in Chrome, and you have to execute in Firefox. Every time this entire things you will have to copy paste for each test case. Assume that if I haven't written a framework, so your life is making simple, right? You have written a framework, so it is executing in each browser, whichever wherever you wanted to execute. You guys are getting right why you are writing a framework structurally. What is the advantages? So I will tell you advantages of. So initially I would have tell exactly the why we write a test cases, the advantages of framework, right? It will make the test execution across uniform exactly in order to maintain a uniformity. So uh, scalable, you can write a number of test cases how you want, how many test cases you want, you can execute at a time also exactly if you write a framework instead of executing one by one. So assume that you here are 10, each package is having a 10 class, 10 test cases. Assume that there are 100 test cases at the time you wanted to execute. So you can execute easily when you are written a framework exactly. So you should always write a framework in a such a way that it should be robust, scalable, easy to maintain, readability. Can you see here we are having our framework is easy to, and we can opt easily. Assume that some web element is got changed. Here driver.find element by you written 10 times for each test cases. In normal way, how you will write driver.find element by username. Here driver.find element by password. Then you mention, then dot send keys. You will assume that. Assume that the this element locator got changed. Here some 20 test cases are there. You are using 20 times that locators everywhere. So you have to go and change for each 20 type. Instead of doing that one, you can change easily here only, right? Here, if it is, sorry, where it is there, you can change easily here only, right? Whichever the web element got changed. So it will reflect everywhere. No need to bother. Our test case, our framework is easy. Maintenance is also easy to adapt environment. Anything got changed, you can change easily, right? Quickly. No need to bother.
We have only 1 minute, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah. So tomorrow we'll continue. How it will you guys
Yeah,
want?
Ratnikant, like, could you postpone the class for tomorrow? I have work tomorrow. I can join tomorrow.
Yeah, then in that case, day after tomorrow we'll connect. In that case,
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
How
Thanks.
many minutes are there?
It's finished, I guess. It's 1 minute.
Okay,
It's
okay, okay.
remaining.
So this remaining will continue tomorrow in that case.
Okay. Day after tomorrow.
Yeah, day after tomorrow.
Okay. Thanks.
Yogita, how it's fine for you, right? I think
Yeah, it's
other
okay.
people, you guys are able to understand, right? If you're not able to understand, please let me know exactly. This will take some time. If you practice now, you can write one. Once you framework, I will give you everything how you understood. Then you will get the confidence. You guys are gaining confidence or not writing framework from scratch?
Yes, sure.
This is we have written from scratch only exactly. This is you can write you in your now if you're somebody is told to automate your some test cases in your company, you can make use of this framework and tell them exactly. You can give justification also exactly how this framework is comfortable, how can we change easily, why I am using this framework only. I will tell you those things exactly how we can use justification.
Yes.
You-
Then we will join day after tomorrow.
yeah, is it right? You guys right know at least how to write a framework. Even though we'll do a lot of customization, I haven't added even test data. Then if what to call, how you can make your